Molly, you have noticed a shift in the social media profile of Denise Betsema that maybe speaks to her status in the international cyclocross scene. Care to flesh that out for us?
Yeah, so Instagram stalker types will notice. A couple of years ago, everyone obviously follows everyone. If you're a top racer, you're probably following all the other top racers. So a couple of years ago, if you looked at Betsema, even right after she had a positive test result for doping, she was still followed by a lot of the top women in Europe and even in the US. And since then, though, that is no longer the case. So when Lucinda won a race last weekend, when she won the World Cup, if you look it up, I believe Denise actually liked that post when she posted about it. This past weekend, Denise, wins. She posts about it, and none of those riders are liking it. None of them are following her anymore. So I do think the tide has turned. I would be very interested to be like a fly on the wall in the starts. I don't really like the idea of being mean to anyone, so I hope no one's like bullying her in the start line, but I do wonder if it's a lot quieter than maybe it would have been in past years.
This is, I had to bring myself up to speed during this last election cycle on what this actually means, but what I am hearing you say here is that Denise Betsema has been canceled.
Maybe a little bit, yeah. That
Maybe
said,
slight.
slightly. She still has a
Can you
lot
be
of
partially
fans.
canceled?
You can be partially canceled.
I mean, we're still
I
talking about her, so
Well, and I mean, if you look at anyone who's canceled, there are going to be people who are still on their side, obviously.
mhm.
So I think she still has a lot of fans over in Europe, even some fans in the US, but I would say no one really, really wants to see someone who's served a suspension riding away from the rest of the group. It's going to be really interesting at World Championships to see how the other riders are reacting if she is, out in front, how that's going to look. I think people are going to find an extra gear to try to keep her back with the pack.
Yeah, no, it is hard. It is hard to see someone who served a doping suspension, who was not repentant for having had a banned substance in their body, who we never really got a clear explanation of how that substance ended up in their body. And also, it also just seems to be one of these Cinderella type stories, the rise of a new star in the sport later in life, who's all of a sudden challenging the top riders in the world, um, is then found to test positive. Yeah, I mean, it hurt, it broke our hearts, and you want to give her the benefit of the doubt, but like you said, it is hard to see her now back winning World Cups. And I have to say, Denise Betsema, based on the course, because we were taking a look at the World Championships course in Ostend, there is a lot of sand. I am saying that Denise Betsema is the outright, based on what we saw at Hulst, based on what we've seen all season long, she is the favorite for the World Championships. In my book, she's a rider that does extremely well on sandy courses, and now we saw on Hulst on these muddy courses, and so that is something I guess we're gonna have to deal with and figure out. Yeah, I guess how we cover Denise Betsema and what her return to the top of the sport means for the sport.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird one.